Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. Well, good evening.
Yeah, enjoying the winter where you are?
I'm in Dallas, Texas, so it's not very
Lucky
cold
you.
at all. Yes. I was out on a walk yesterday
Yeah,
without a cold.
fantastic. So, I've been thinking about how often we hear the phrase, you can't aim for what you can't see. It's differently when we talk about visibility in women's sport. Has anything you've seen recently, Angela, maybe even outside the basketball, giving you hope about where the women's game is headed?
I do. So here are the first thoughts that come to mind is as players, it is inspirational when you see people who are at a level beyond where you are. So if you're a college player and you see professionals, then it makes you believe and know that that is possible for you. However, given that so many new teams and leagues are out there, we know that sport has been given visibility, specifically on the men's side. So even if I know that I haven't seen as much visibility for women, and we're seeing so much more, even here in Dallas, there's a new professional women's volleyball team here in Dallas called the Dallas Pulse. And their opening game is this weekend, and there'll be so many young women there, so that they're going to aspire to be like that and to know that that is available to them. So I do believe that it is important to have role models and to have visibility. And I also believe that you can look at visibility in other areas, whether it's on the men's side in basketball or other sports, and know that visibility is possible. The question is, will the support and investment occur on the women's side to ensure that the visibility increases as well?
Great. I'm really looking forward to unpacking all that and more. So let's do this.
Let's do it.
The following is a conversation with Angela Lewis, former professional basketball player, coach, author, and founder of Lewis Consulting Group. This is PreZero Sports Talk Podcast, and I'm your host, Sid Bensalah. Today, we're diving into women's sports leadership coaching beyond the scoreboard and what it takes to build equity, community, and long-term impact. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, and supporting the show. Your support and financial contributions helps us bring forward authentic voices, real stories, and conversation that go beyond the game. If you'd like to support the show, please check the episode description for more. Angela, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Sid. I'm glad we could finally make this happen. So
Thank
excited to
you.
dive in.
And Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New
Wish you
Year.
all the best. So, you've
Thank you.
worn many hats: pro athlete, champion coach, founder, speaker, but it all connects to something deeper, empowering athletes as people, not as performers. To start, can you take us back, Angela, to the moment when you realized coaching and developing others was more than just a job for you?
Coaching is something that teaching what you've learned in coaching is something that was instilled in me very early on as a player. As you grow and develop, you're always told to go and teach the younger players what you've learned. And so there wasn't this one specific moment, but it's been constant and constant ask to come back and teach what I've learned. I remember the first time I spoke to a group of players, and I knew that when I was in college that I would coach eventually. I was a freshman in college, and my youth team came to practice in our facility. And my coach asked me to speak to them and explain to them what it was like to be an NCAA Division I athlete, and said, I had such a high after speaking to them. You know how runners get that
Yeah,
high from
yeah.
running? The adrenaline was rushing. And I
Wow.
knew at that moment that that was my destiny, and it was going to always be important that I share what I've learned and I try my best to inspire others and coach them up.
What led to your shift from player to coach? Exactly.
It's such a natural progression from players who love the game and love to make other people better. It's a leadership trait, right? It's like you love this game, and as a captain, as a leader on your team, you're literally already coaching. You're helping your teammates learn and grow. And so when I went to graduate school and moved back to St. Louis after playing, I started coaching with a high school, Metro High School, and the coach was someone who coached me when I was younger. So he pulled me in, and Coach Gary Glassguy, and invited me to coach on his team. And it was just a natural progression, and we won a state title that
Yeah.
year.
And while you were studying in high school, was it natural for you while playing, being an active player? Was it something that you planned early on to be a coach, or it came naturally?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
And for me, basketball is the classroom. Basketball was the classroom. It was the place that I loved to be, where I can share what I've learned. So it was the next closest thing to playing as well. So it wasn't something that I thought about consciously until I got older, and it made sense at the time.
And how was your experience as a former pro athlete shaped your coaching today, especially when it comes to leading a team?
My experience as an athlete shapes my coaching by a few things. The first is you have to listen. I mean, listening to your teammates is the only way to truly understand and make sure that everyone's on the same page and is headed in the same direction. The other thing is a willingness to bounce back when things go wrong, because they will. If you miss a shot, you have to go down the court and get back on defense. If something goes wrong, you have to turn around and continue to play. And the last way playing has shaped my coaching is that you learn how to be very bad, but if you can master the fundamentals, you can get better. And so there's a level of patience and hard work that I learned from playing.
So you developed the V6 framework. What are its core principles?
The core principles of the V6. Now, Sid, I have to share that this started as a speech to a group of students.
Right.
And this framework is all about how do you get from valley to victory? And this framework allows you to maintain and generate confidence. So the first V is valley. This is a challenging moment, a difficult situation. And you have to ask yourself, how did we get here? What were the factors that got us here? You're in the valley. The next step to get out of this valley is to consider the voices that you're listening to. So what environments are you in that are impacting and that have impacted how you got there? And one of the most important ones is your own voice. So we go from valley to voice, and then we have to change the vision to get out of the valley. You change the vision. We make sure those values align with that vision. We reach the point of victory, and then we volunteer and help someone else when we're at the top of that mountain. So that's how we get from valley to victory.
Right, right. And this model, Angela, does it help to promote athletes' overall growth, not just performance? Because quite often coaches, that's the main focus: performance, performance, result, result. So they are more result driven than looking at the coaching the whole person.
This is definitely a character development framework, and it's one that they can utilize well beyond the court or the field or wherever they're playing. This framework is designed to help them understand how to make decisions and how to maintain confidence as they go through the inevitable ups and downs. That's why it's from valley to victory, back down to the valley, back up to victory, back down the valley, back up to victory. You know, it's a cycle. As you go to the next level, you're going to have challenges.
Yeah.
So this is a character development framework, definitely not a
Yeah.
solely on the court framework. And I wrote about it in my first book, The
Right.
Game Changing Assist.
Right.
So and there are activities that go along with it. So it's not just understand the valley. No, there's a reflective portion of this so that you can actually understand the lesson from that valley to get to the next step.
Yeah, yeah. I love talking on this medium about setbacks, failure, setbacks, not winning, not scoring, losing, not crossing the finishing line first. How do you deal with setbacks and failure?
How do I deal with that? I feel it and then I'll move on.
Hmm.
You know, one of the from on a basketball side, one of the most challenging experiences or setbacks that I had was I wanted to play professionally, once playing the WNBA, like a lot of women, and I went to this pro combine, and the event organizer changed the time. The time changed, and I get there, and everyone's leaving. Like, I had worked so hard for this, and everyone was leaving. And then I talked to my college coaches, and they connected me with someone who was an agent in Germany, and that allowed me to go play in Europe and had an incredible time. But the way that I dealt with setbacks, one, I asked what could I've done differently, and what I could have done differently. She changed the time, but I didn't reconfirm the time. So I take accountability for what role I played in it, if I played a role in it. And then two, I find a mentor to try to help figure out what other options are there, because sometimes we just don't know what the
Yeah.
other options are.
And as a coach, now you are in on the other side. So, how do you deal with failure, and how do you teach this kind of resilience with the little ones or the team as a coach? Quite often, mainly at the junior level, mainly in the youth development program, many failures, let's say, corner the little ones, and they say, "Ah, we are not good enough. We are doing our best. We're trying. Then maybe we should pull the plug."
Well, you help them know that you can separate who you are from your performance. So just because you had a bad game or you didn't do well in this one drill doesn't mean that you're incapable and you're not worthy and you're not a good person, right? We have to
Mhm.
separate who you are as a person from what happened on the court so that you can keep going. The second thing about that said is confidence comes from making mistakes. So helping them understand this is just a part of the process. You're going to make mistakes. No one starts out and you're Asia Wilson. No, you have to work really hard to become a really a really good player. So it takes time.
Yeah, yeah. And Angela, how do you deal with parents? Do you draw a line in terms of how much they interfere or get involved in your coaching?
Well, I think it's important to set
Mm,
boundaries with
mm,
parents. You know, it's really important to set boundaries. Right now, I volunteer and help out with the local seventh grade team. So it's important to have meetings with parents at the beginning of the season and let them know that you deeply care about the players as people
mhm.
beyond what they do on the court and beyond how they perform. And that's really important.
Yeah, just reflecting on past experiences. While I was coaching youngsters or involved in the youth development program, I know when there is a failure or certain athlete did not perform, drive home with the parents or during supper, it's not usually a funny experience, turning a failure to blame, and then it's kind of a vicious circle. And I like your approach in terms of talking to parents and setting the tone or expectations as well, because there is no way that every game you can win. There is no guarantee, absolutely zero guarantee. So, yeah. And talking earlier about coaching the whole person, why is personal growth, Angela, often overlooked in competitive sports settings?
Because you have to win. It's often overlooked because winning, well, let me slow down a little
Hmm.
bit. There is personal growth inherent in competitive sports. You have to deal with yourself, you have to deal with your mindset, and you have to learn how to be a part of a team. And so much of what you get isn't stated explicitly. So it definitely happens by default. However, there is an opportunity for more leadership development programs, more character development programs to be embedded, even how to communicate effectively. It's not something that young people innately know. And through different programs and workshops, they can learn those things.
Yeah, yeah. How can you build trust with athletes in results driven culture?
How do you build trust with athletes in a results driven
Yes.
culture? Trust is so important. And part of how you build trust is being honest and straight up with them.
Hmm.
I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to like it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to want to hear that you need to be in the gym more or you're out of shape. or you need to work harder. And it doesn't even mean that they're going to get it in that moment. I have coaches who I've gone back to and said, "Thank you for being so direct and upfront," which felt like they were being harsh. It's like, "No, you're not good enough yet." I had coaches tell me, "You're not good enough. You need to work harder." Well, so trust is built over time, being honest and being willing to show them that you care about them as people.
Have you been in a situation where there was, I will not say lack of trust, but trust was, or wrestling with trust with the specific athlete in the past or now?
Yes, yes, yes. I just saw her face. Her face popped up in my head.
Straight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you
I
like to
remember. I
share?
remember. Sure, sure. There is a young lady, and I think it's part of his immaturity. You know, she just always had something to say when you try to coach her. She wasn't very coachable, but she was a good player. But could have been a great player. And I think that's the frustrating part as a coach. So she just didn't trust that she needed the additional help, additional work, and her attitude was terrible.
Wow. She didn't trust the process or the person as a coach?
I think
Both.
both. I think both are aligned because if a player trusts you, then they're at least willing to give the process a try. They're willing to, I've had coaches that I will run through the wall for, even if I didn't know I could make it through the wall, just because this coach
Yeah.
said go through the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we see that on all sides.
Yeah. And the process to gain trust, is it difficult or depends on each individual?
The process to gain trust in competitive sports, well, so we're talking about two things. We're talking about do do players trust that you have the competence to help them win games, and as a result you give them the game plan to go win? Do they trust that you care about them as a person? Those things aren't the same. So I've been on teams where we weren't great at all. I mean, I've coached teams where we weren't great, but there was trust because they knew we were trying our very best to help them win. But you've been on other side where you could be winning, but the team, there isn't a lot of trust
Right.
involved either. So it's definitely a process, but it's important to know, do I trust that this coach or this staff has my best interest in heart? That's key.
Right, right. We observe a surge in women's basketball recently, from Olympic buzz and excitement to the full capacity WNBA games, which it's quite popular here actually in Europe. Angela, what's driving this growth?
I think there's three major drivers. The first driver is increased investment in women's sports.
Right.
We've seen a lot more investment in women's sports. And also, what we've seen is increased visibility. The investment from the having so many more games available to watch, having more streaming platforms. So we have technology which allows way more streaming platforms to show games, and we're seeing media deals that make a difference. We're also seeing accessibility to players, and this has been huge because of NIL and brand deals.
Yeah.
Like now that there's so much money, there's a trickle down effect. So now that there's money in college athletes, it all helps to grow, to increase the visibility of women's sports and women's basketball in particular.
Yeah. In your time, the stands, the grandstands, were they packed, full, or
It depends.
depends
Depends on where
which?
we
Yeah.
play. There's some places, and it's still the same today. Like every gym isn't sold out.
Yeah.
I was just at University of Texas, played against Ole Miss, and it was at UT in Austin. Texas is ranked number 2, sold out.
Wow.
Literally sold out. Unbelievable atmosphere and environment. And then I went to another game recently, another college women's basketball game, NCAA Division I, not sold out. Plenty of empty seats. So there's still room for growth.
And still, those games are broadcasted live, or
Some of them are.
some of them?
The first the some of them are broadcast live. Yeah, some are
Yeah.
broadcast live or streamed, which is the
The
same thing.
same, yeah, yeah. You talked about investment. Is it all across the different levels from grassroots all the way to professional or semi-professional, professional? Or how's this investment you've seen recently that you explain it's one of the driver that is making the game in women's basketball popular?
It is. You're seeing a lot of teams now who are sponsored, who are on these travel circuits, and they're getting more exposure and opportunities. And then, of course, with the NCAA collectives and the NILs, players are obviously being paid at the NCAA Division One level, and then professionally, there is a growth in investment and in new leagues and teams. We saw the WNBA expanded and will continue to expand. And we have here in Dallas, there's a new arena being built specifically where the Dallas Wings will play. And for the Dallas Wings, Chicago's building a new facility. LA was a trailblazer in their facility where players could actually have their own space
Wow.
and training facility. So we're seeing the growth and the need for facility, which is additional investment in the
Yeah,
infrastructure
yeah.
of women's
Yeah.
sports.
I can't talk about the WNBA without talking about Caitlin Clark and injuries. So I'm going to ask that question. So we've seen
Sure.
the mainly Caitlin Clark and injuries have become cultural lightning rods. Do you see this, Angela, as a media narrative or something deeper?
Well, that moment was the moment when they were in college
Yeah.
was a very big deal, right? But women's basketball has always been competitive and incredibly good. This was just the perfect storm for the moment. It was definitely a lightning rod
Yeah.
moment. However, there have been players who have been unbelievably talented prior to this moment. And I know that moment was a game changer because of the racial undertones or explicit racial framing of
Mhm.
how that occurred between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. So it developed a lot of conversation around women's sports. It was about women's sports, but it was also about race. It's kind of is where I'm getting at.
Interesting. And for the little girls watching today, what kind of role models or stories do you think they need to see more of?
What they're seeing today is what they've always needed to see. It's really incredible to go to the games and see the little girls and boys in
Yeah.
jerseys. What do they need to see more of? Just more examples, more stories about the person and not only about their stats
Mhm.
and what
Mhm.
what they're doing on the court. Growing up, one of my favorite shows was NBA Inside Stuff with Hannah Storm,
Okay.
and she would sit down and her and Ahmad Rashad would talk to players about life, and they would do things that weren't always connected to basketball, but it was really about players and who they are. And so I love that show, and I think there's definitely space, and we're seeing more of that, more of women's stories being told about who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up, whoever you talk to, depend on sport, but I think basketball is anchored in every single household. Here, yeah, even in Europe, and I remember growing up in the bedrooms, you have either Magic Johnson or whoever, you know, and we look at it. It's like the superstar that like those guys. They were from a complete different planet, playing in a complete different league, you know, and especially the Dream Team and
Oh,
the
they're amazing. You remember the Dream
of course I
Team?
do. And I know exactly every single player. And at that time, we didn't have social media, you know, we didn't have internet even. So we tried to grab whatever magazine just to look for the story, the controversy, who's playing, yeah, it was amazing. And even it's not the fight, the tension between Magic and Larry Bird at that time, you know, and then afterwards we had the greatest, you know, Jordan. It's just amazing. And I'm trying to those little girls. Do they have the same experience now, knowing that WNBA and the professional basketball, women basketball is becoming, thanks to the media, of course, and the investment, as you highlighted earlier. But do they have their own, let's say, superstar?
Absolutely. Asia Wilson is top tier superstar, 4-time
Nice.
MVP. She's won 3 championships. She has She has a statue at South Carolina where she played. She won national championships there. She's published a book. She has a foundation. Asia Wilson, of course. Angel Reese, of course. She's doing some incredible things off the court with her foundation. Flau'jae Johnson,
Hmm.
who's not even in the WNBA yet, who's a hip hop star, and they definitely have. There definitely are women who they look up to. Sabrina
Exactly. Yeah.
Ionescu. There are so many, and I love that they have all these women
Mhm.
who they can consider role models.
What's your impression, Angela, from the final game from the last summer Paris Olympic between the US and France?
It was a really competitive game, incredibly competitive game, and I think we're going to see the LA Olympics. It's going to be tough,
Yeah.
but I love that it's even more competitive, and I love that, of course, the US won.
Yeah. I mean, that was
I mean,
electric. It was completely impossible to predict who's going to win the game. Women and as well, man.
on the men's
The
side too.
men's as well was tough, and I think that will push. Let's not make a prediction, but one thing is for sure, the LA Games is going to be yeah, super electric.
They will be.
The controversy, what happened between Caitlin Clark and Jerry's, my personal experience, I think the media has pushed the button quite a lot when it comes to racial, the way it was framed, because at the end of the day, no one knows exactly the true intention of a player. You know, the heat of the moment, you never know. Like you said, the adrenaline is rushing in the veins, and yeah. But how does the media's coverage and the portrayal of black women or other women of color in sports differ from coverage and portrayal of their peers, in your opinion?
Oh wow. That's a really good question. I think if we look specifically at Angel Reese, she was definitely framed as it was a character flaw, right? She's a bad person, she's disrespectful. She was definitely framed as unlikable because of her willingness to just talk and be competitive. And if you've ever watched Caitlin play, she's competitive too. Like they both talk and they both taunt at times, as do other players. And so there is beyond sport, we see the perception of black athletes sometimes framed as overly aggressive or naked bad people,
Mhm.
which is unfair.
Yeah, that remind me of last year. I had the pleasure to have a conversation with John Vallely. John Vallely was a team member under coach John Wooden at UCLA
Okay.
in the 70s, and one of the player was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he was a mentor to John Vallely. You know, he launched a book called The Pyramid Principle, based on the pyramid of success of coach John Wooden. But John Vallely's story was mainly outside the basketball court, mainly to do with fate, with losing a daughter to cancer. And part of the conversation, he told me that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the court, he was the best player, period. But no one knew, beside of the coach, no one knew what Kareem was going through outside, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really struck me. And when the question had been popped and they started talking about it, affected every single member of the UCLA team. And coach John Wooden, through his framework of and through his methodology, the pyramid of success. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
I am.
Yeah,
Mhm.
made sure that everyone is equal. Put it this way, it's
Yes.
always based on fairness, and yeah. So, and for this reason,
Yeah, I think that's
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I think that's a really good point around a lot of times what people go through, you don't know. I remember even hearing interviews of Angel Reese saying, like, you just don't know what I've been through. she received death
Yeah.
threats and the disparaging things that people said about her publicly just really is hurtful because regardless of the fact that they're competing, they're still people. Like they're athletes, they're high level athletes, they're professional athletes. But from Kareem and what he went through to still see people feel comfortable saying these things about athletes who are people is it's really disturbing. And people should say you're professional, you can handle it. But people are still people.
Yeah.
They're still people. And so if you want to say, these things to people outside of it, why would you feel comfortable saying it about character, right? It's different if it's you are commenting on the game and a play, right? But we're talking about people's like who they are as people. That's really disturbing.
Yeah. In your opinion, Angela, what need to change exactly from an institutional or cultural standpoint to protect and uplift all these athletes?
What needs to change culturally to protect athletes? How much time do we have? No, I think the first part is I don't think you can legislate system. So everything I say is it's a heart issue, not necessarily what I think can change collectively, other than people caring about people as people, and then two, making sure that athletes are protected. That's important. And we see that sometimes when people will say or do something that's off and they'll get kicked out of an arena. So just making sure that there are security and protection in place for athletes because it's literally a game.
Right. Yeah. Let's shift gear and talk about pay equity, which is this subject is dear to me. So, why is pay equity still so far behind, even as the viewership, as we were talking earlier, continues to grow?
Pay equity is definitely something that I need to study more. So I will not act like an expert on pay equity from all the different leagues, but I do know that we still need more people at games. We still need more investment in marketing to drive people to games. So it's the whole ecosystem that really needs investment and there's time. All of the leagues haven't been around as long, and some of the leagues, the WNBA is a lot shorter. So we can't expect it to be the exact same. We need to look at the league itself and then be able to help that league grow. There are negotiations right now. I mean, the WNBA is on the verge of they're on the verge of a lockout right now if the negotiations don't go well. So we'll see how that unfolds.
Would you foresee or, let's say, wish that one day at that level, the WNBA athletes will be valued on merit?
The leagues are very different. The leagues are different in many ways. The leagues are different. But yes, of course, I would
But let
love
me
to see
stop you
the
there.
leagues valued more.
Sorry, let me stop you there. If the courts are full, let's say the major games, if the level what we've seen last summer during the Paris Olympic, it's wow. If the viewership is growing, if the sponsorship and mainly funding and money it's flowing, why is it impossible that for the ladies to be treated exactly when it comes to the topic we're talking about? Why it is impossible that they will be treated exactly like the male counterpart?
Well, there are some things that I think the women need that are a little different. Yes, I think there should be equality based on the value of teams. And what I read is that currently the the players are the salaries are based on kind of the history, like historically here, and this is how most businesses run. You look at what you've done in the past, you make
Yeah.
projections for what's possible. But what we're seeing is a tremendous surge in growth, and so it's important to think a bit differently about the future, not only looking at what has happened at the past, because as you mentioned, we hit a lightning rod moment that changed everything.
Right.
The viewership is up 170% year to year. Attendance is up So we're seeing a lot
Yeah.
that is really shifted.
But then, talking about the same topic, look what's happened with the US women's national soccer team because they had to fight for it. Now they are the first ever, historically, the first ever female women team in the world, all sports, got exactly the same pay.
Unprecedented.
Yeah,
Equal pay, equal prize money
absolutely. Yeah.
distribution, revenue sharing. Yeah, it is definitely amazing to see. And what we are seeing, you look at people like Alex Ohanen,
Mhm.
Serena Williams' husband, and the investment that he's made. That Athos is the name of the women's track
Yeah.
league, right? Where they actually pay so much more and they have big events and they bring people out. Beyond track often was highlighted and invested in at a massive level during the Olympics. But now they have events throughout the year where people can still engage with the athletes. The athletes can earn money. And you see leagues like Unrivaled that is in the US. Players don't want to go abroad. It's a different model than the WNBA, but it's still a professional opportunity. And players are paid well and they're very well taken care of because the league was created by Breonna Stewart and Afisa Collier, who are players. So sometimes disruption has to occur for equality to happen. So what I'm saying is the WNBA has work, but there are other people who have created leagues and created opportunities so that we can increase the level and try to level the playing field for professional women athletes. It may not come all the time directly from those leagues like the WNBA, but it will have to over time because other people are doing it and showing that those models work.
Let's see. Let's
Yes,
see.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Angela, how has faith anchored your journey, especially during times of transition?
Yeah, faith is everything. I mean, faith. I'm very. I grew up going to church with my mom
Mhm.
and my family, and prayer has always been a big part of my life. And I believe that God always has shown me the direction. And sometimes you get knocked, like you're in that valley, and you literally can't see the other side, and it requires faith and constant movement. So faith is critical to my life.
And in your view, how can coaches support athletes beyond statistics and trophies?
Listening, asking what's important to them, because the athlete is just one part of who they
Mm.
are. There are some athletes, some people who are athletes who are great musicians. There are ones who love to read. Victor Wembanyama reads books before every game. Like so understanding that there are people and have interests beyond sport really helps to build that relationship and makes them even better of athletes and makes the team even connected when you know that it's more than just the game.
Yeah. You've spoken about helping young girls see themselves in sport. What's missing right now?
What's missing right now in girls seeing themselves in sport? I would say what's missing is their voices. So a lot of times we talk to young people and we don't listen to them. So I would love to see more from them and their perspectives and hearing from them what they need so then it can be created in a way that helps them best versus us only assuming we know what they need.
Yeah. How do you integrate leadership, sports, and community in your program?
The way I integrate leadership, sports, and community, it's using all of kind of the principles from the book, right? So the Game Changing Assist talks about that 6V model. So not only can I host the basketball camp at clinic, there's these 6 principles and 6-week programs based on the principles in that book. Post Moves, the Female Athlete's Guide to Dominate Life After College, is all about how do you develop those professional skills such as communication, leadership, networking, and resilience that'll help you beyond the game. So workshops and programs around those is how I help.
So, you've written 2 books. What did you feel it was important to tell your story and to help others to do the same?
So these are the two. And then there's another one coming out
Aha.
called A Ball and a Chance. It's a children's book. It's a children's book. So I didn't want to write books. I didn't grow up thinking I'm a writer. What happened I was asked to speak. So I spoke to a group of students, and that speech led to a book. I think it's in that book I get to tell my story. I think it's important that all athletes write their stories because you are connected to little cousins, younger teams, your high school, at minimum, your high school, at minimum, your college. There are athletes there who know you, who want to follow in your footsteps and who will listen to you. Like you literally have an audience. And so I became keenly aware of that after being asked to speak so many times and wanted to put what I've learned and what other women who play sports have learned in a book. Post Moves is stories of 15 women who all play college sports. And globally, there's women from all over the world that we highlight in that book, and they share their lessons as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then A Ball and a Chance, which comes out in March,
Okay.
is about a little girl named Destiny who plays basketball. And this book really highlights culture, community, and how basketball connects you all over the world. So she's very tall, feels out of place, and her auntie, who's a basketball coach, takes her on a journey to another country where she meets kids from other cultures and she develops confidence and learns that any court in the world feels like home.
Fantastic. The book will be available on Amazon or?
It will be available. These two are available on Amazon right
Right.
now. A Ball and a Chance will be available on Amazon, on my website, angelarlewis.com. And I am hosting events. So if you want to bring me out somewhere to have an event, I am currently scheduling those right now. And I have some events lined up this year. which
And
I'm
we'll put all
excited
those
about.
information in our episode show
Yes.
notes. Fantastic.
Yes.
And how has writing changed your perspective on sports legacy?
Writing has changed my perspective on sports legacy in a way I didn't anticipate, Sid. The original writing of The Game Changing Assist was in 2012. I recently updated them, so the new versions are out. Post Moves was in 2016. Both of these are over a decade ago. Sid, people are still reading them.
Wow.
People are still asking about them. I didn't know at that time. When I wrote the book, I wasn't thinking 10 years down the line about what it could be. I just did it for the young people in that moment that I was working with. And I encourage every athlete, share what you've been through because someone is watching. My little cousins are like, oh, I can't wait to read the book. The 7th grade team, they were babies when these books came out and they read it and gave me tremendous feedback. So it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it this time to put your words and your thoughts together
And tell me,
share them.
let's talk about the writing process. Is it a straightforward process? Is it difficult? Do you start with the main idea at the beginning and then you close with the ending, or it's a reverse? How does it work?
It starts with your intention. So what do you want them to know? Start there. And for me, I think in outline form. And so here were the kind of big themes I wanted them to know for the first book. And then I tested it. I just started talking about it, giving the speech, getting the feedback, and turned that into a book. And I revised it 50 times, right? So the first draft is never it for any of what I've written. And I just revised it, over a decade later. So I'm a believer in starting wherever you are and getting it out there and then going from there. The children's book was a little different because it's a children's book. And so I had to figure out the illustrations along with the words in the book. And so I started getting out there, tested it on people, getting feedback, test again, and then went from there.
Right. And on that, what's one message you hope every young female athlete reads and remembers?
In A Ball and a Chance, there's a line in the book that says, it's new, it's hard, it's possible. With courage and heart, you'll be unstoppable.
Wow.
It's new, it's hard, it's possible. So go take on the new things. With courage and heart, you'll be unstoppable. So have the courage to go after what you want in spite of your fear. That's courage. Go through it even when you're afraid. Heart means when I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up. When I'm tired, I'm going to keep working. So if you can have courage and heart, you'll be unstoppable. The one thing I want them to be is unstoppable, to know that they can be unstoppable because they have courage and because they have heart. That's it.
Love it. Love it. What gives you hope for the next generation of female athletes?
What gives me hope? My little cousin texted me and said, "Cousin Angie, I have a game on Sunday. Can you come watch me play?"
Bless her.
That they want to play.
Nice.
That there are some that still really want to play and love the game and they're willing to compete. That gives me hope. And seeing the visibility of women's sports at the highest level, there's only going to be a trickle-down effect because they're going to need a pipeline of talent. So I'm excited.
And what's the
I'm
driving
so
force
excited.
for these little ones, Angela?
What's the driving
Yeah.
force for the little ones who want to
Yes.
play? Youth sports gives you community. I think at the most basic level, you have access to friendships and you're able to play. And then it trickles up to being able to possibly play professionally or have a career in sports. So many young people want to stay around the game. Sports is a great escape. It's so much fun and you can learn and grow in that environment.
Nice. What's on your mind right now? Let's say personally and professionally.
Personally and professionally? Personally is, oh, that's such a good question. Personally is just staying consistent and pushing towards the vision that I have. So getting up and being strong to make the things come to life. So getting up, working out, eating right, like all of those, especially the start of the year, like everyone's like
It's hard.
getting in shape. So what's top of mind for me, I have a number of speaking engagements coming up. So it's making sure that I'm as healthy as I can be to fulfill the vision and goals that God has given me professionally, get the books out, continue to set up the book tour, book events, and speak to young people and adults about how to be unstoppable.
You're listening to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk. For more conversations on sports leadership, faith, performance, and innovation from Sweden to the world, visit prezerosportstalk.com. Great. Now it's time for our lightning round.
Oh, all right.
Ready for
Let's do
speedy
it.
Q&A?
I am.
Great. What sport did you try once and immediately realize, no, wasn't for me?
Soccer. The field is too big. Much bigger than basketball.
Good.
Than the basketball court.
What's one pre-game ritual you never skip?
Nap. Always took a nap.
A coach or a mentor who changed your life?
Ty Evans.
Are you a morning or a night person?
Morning.
Morning. What's one food you could eat every day without getting tired of it?
Donuts.
Oi.
I don't though. I don't for obvious reasons, but I could.
Yeah. Dream guest for your podcast?
Robin Roberts.
Oh. Who is the most underrated female athlete right now?
Most underrated. I don't know. I don't have a good one.
No worries, we pass.
Because if they're professionally, then they're not underrated because they're pro. So.
If you weren't involved in sports, what will you be doing instead?
Salsa dancing. I'd be a professional salsera.
If you could have a dinner with a historical figure, who will it be and why?
My granny, my mom's mom. Yeah, I never met her. I mean, she was deceased before I was born, but my mom speaks so highly of her. I would love to have dinner with her.
Lovely. Nice. Is there a place you'd love to visit for a speaking engagement?
Yes, I would love to speak in LA at the Olympics. The Olympics in 2028? Absolutely. That would be
Nice.
amazing.
What's the most challenging part of being a leader?
The most challenging part of being a leader is that getting to the heart and really understanding the people who you're working with, because sometimes you just have to work to uncover the truth of how they're feeling and what they're going through.
Who is your favorite WNBA team or a player right now?
Wilson. I mean, what she's done on and off the court, have a lot of respect and admiration for her.
Yeah. What's something you've changed your mind about over the past year?
Over the past year, I've changed my mind about how much time we have to do the things that we want to do. My dad passed last year and my sister-in-law. And so
Sorry.
last year was really a tough year. And so I have more urgency than I've ever had before.
In one word, what does leadership mean to you today?
Listening.
And finally, a piece of advice or wisdom to our listeners on any topic.
Give just a little bit more. Yeah. Serve others from the purest place of your heart, because the ripple effect, you don't know what people are going through. So there's a ripple effect that will bless other people. And so try to give a little bit more.
Angela Lewis, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Sid. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
And before we wrap up, where can listeners connect with you or learn more about your work?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Please send me a message on LinkedIn. I would love to connect. Angela R. Lewis. You can go to my website, angelarlewis.com, or connect with me on Instagram, the Angela R. Lewis. And Sid, I'll send you the 6 V's, and we can put that in the show notes if someone wants to use that with their athlete.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, I leave you with a few words from Marianne Edelman. You can't be what you can't see. This captures so much of what today's conversation was about: visibility, voice, and being a force for change, especially for young women in sport. Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank you for joining our show. If you enjoyed this episode, we have more for you. You can now watch the entire episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels. While you're here, subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell. Visit prezerosportstalk.com to explore more conversations on sports, leadership, faith, performance, and innovation, from Sweden to the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and make a difference. We'll see you soon. Take care.